Hey guys, how are you all doing? Welcome to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Naruto's parents were alive but they were in coma for 16 years, and thought Naruto is dead? NarutoxHarem movie. So before we start, go check out the author of this fanfic, vsizzel. Link is in the description. Also subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Let's start the story. It was a sunny day in Konoha. Nothing in particular happened on these occasions. No, but today was different. Today in Konoha is holding one of the biggest celebrations of the year. The streets are filled with cheerful people. If one were to come to Konoha for the first time today, they would think that Konoha is one of the happiest places on earth. But to know of the history of this day would be a great day for most people, but for the rest it would be one of the saddest days for them. Today is October 10th, the day of the Kyuubi attack, which is also Naruto's birthday. But October 10th also marks the day of Naruto's death. October 10th is the day Naruto died. At the age of 6, Konoha village gates. Two mysterious figures walked into the gates of Konoha. The gate guards saw them and stopped them. "Halt. State your name, rank, and reason why you are here," said one of the guards when he looked up to see who the figures were. The other guard noticed his ally fainted and went over to him. "Hey Izumo." "Hey, what happened?" asked the other guard, whose name is Kotetsu Higain. "What did you do to him?" yelled Kotetsu. Then he attempted to glare at the two figures, but when he saw their faces he also shared the same fate as his friend, and fainted. "I guess we should have expected that," commented one of the figures. "That's what you get for being so famous in this village," replied the other figure. "Hey, you were also famous," argued the other one. "Still, not as famous as you." Fine, you win. "We should put on our hoods until we get to the Hokage office. We don't want to start a commotion now, do we?" said one of the figures, changing the subject due to losing the argument earlier. The other figure simply nodded, and they both put on their hoods and began to walk into the village. During their walk they couldn't help but smile. The village was very lively. Everyone, children, adults, moms, and dads, everyone was happy. Everyone was having a great time just talking, relaxing, telling jokes, and laughing. "They are even having a celebration today." "Today is his birthday, isn't it?" said one of the figures smiling. "Yep, it sure is. And it seems the village is celebrating it," replied the other figure, also smiling. "Oh, I can't wait to see our baby boy." "Neither can I. We should hurry to the office." They both quickened their faces and reached the Hokage office eventually. Hokage office. Another year of this shit celebration. "Damn village, when will you ever learn?" growled the Sandaime Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen. Ever since the villagers learned of Naruto's death, they always had a big festival on his birthday to celebrate the death of the demon. When they first started this, Sarutobi was furious and demanded that they all go back home and continue with their daily lives. But since Sarutobi didn't have a backbone, the villagers just ignored him and continued, mostly because the council told them to, since it was an important day. The only people who didn't take any part on this day were only a handful. Mostly people consist of guarding Naruto from harm. They were Anko Mitarashi, Kurenai Yuhi, Hana Inuzuka, and Yugao Yuzuki. Kakashi Hatake didn't because he knew what his sensei wanted, for Naruto to be seen as a hero. Also his son Asuma Hiruzen, he was Naruto's caretaker when Naruto was an infant till he was 2, where he was sent to the orphanage. Most of the clan heads didn't either, but most people in their clan did. There were a few more. Sarutobi was staring at a letter in his hands. It was a letter from Naruto on the day death. He would be 16 by now, wouldn't he? "I can't help but feel guilty for this. If only I had a backbone, this would have never happened. I'm sorry Minato, I failed you," he thought to himself. Right when he finished thinking, there was a knock on the door. "Leave, I will not be seeing anyone today," yelled Sarutobi in a strong voice. This would get most people to leave, even low-level jounins, but there was still a knock on the door. Sarutobi got annoyed and was about to get up and see who it was until he heard a yell from the other side. "What a pansy! Just kick it open," yelled someone from the other side of the door, and moments later the door flung open to reveal a figure. When Sarutobi saw who it was, his eyes widened, and he started to get pale and fainted. After a few minutes he recovered from his blackout. "What just happened?" he groaned, rubbing his head. "Well, you saw us, and then fainted," replied someone. Sarutobi looked over to see who it was, and his eyes widened once again. "Minato? Kushina? Is that really you?" he asked, still not believing who he was seeing. "Yup, alive, and not dead," both Minato and Kushina replied simultaneously. Sarutobi got up from his couch and straightened himself. "How are you still alive?" he asked. "Do you want the long story or short?" replied Minato. "I'll take it short. Well, after we sealed the Kyuubi inside Naruto, Shinigami-sama said that my heart is pure, and that I would still be alive, but at a cost. Which is that me and my wife would be in a coma for 16 years. After we woke up, we went straight to Konoha to see how much he had grown." Sarutobi just nodded. He seemed to take it in one at a time. "So where is my baby boy?" asked Kushina in an excited voice, eager to see her son, Minato too. Sarutobi then had a frown. This confused both Kushina and Minato. I'm sorry Minato, Kushina, said Sarutobi sadly looking down, ashamed to face them. Why, what happened? Asked Minato. Naruto was hated by the village. Every day there would be mobs that would beat, rape, abuse him till he was nearly almost dead. Naruto had scars, cuts, bruises, burnt marks, anything. There were even assassinations attempts on his life. I was even worse on his birthday. I'm sorry Minato, Kushina, I couldn't protect him. Minato and Kushina's eyes widened. They were shocked to hear this. They thought that Naruto was a hero, instead their son was beaten until he was almost dead. Then why are they celebrating? Why are they celebrating Naruto's birthday? Yelled Kushina. She was furious and raged at the village for them to let this happen to her son. That is because today is a celebration of Naruto's death, said Sarutobi very sadly. What? Both Minato and Kushina yelled so loud that the whole village heard this. Outside the village. Hey, what was that? Asked a Konoha shinobi. I don't know, but let's keep celebrating, replied another shinobi. Today was the day the demand died. Hooray, hooray, cheered everyone. Back to Hokage office. Minato and Kushina were furious, damn straight pissed off, so mad that they could go into the village and just kill everyone and not give a damn. Sarutobi on the other hand was scared for his life. He is on the verge of almost pissing himself. They were giving glares at Sarutobi. What happened to Naruto? Roared Minato. Sarutobi almost squealed. During his 6th birthday there was another assassination attempt. Naruto managed to survive and tried hiding, but some ninjas found him and brought him to the center of the village. There he was beaten and was lying on the ground, blood all over the ground. Kushina tried to say something, but Sarutobi cut her off. It doesn't end there. After they finished they threw a barrel of oil over his unconscious body and burned him alive, said Sarutobi, as he took a breath, meaning he was done. Kushina and Minato were speechless. They got even madder than before. Why didn't you do anything about it? Asked Kushina, who clearly had anger in her voice. I tried, but the council always found a loop around everything, and when some of the clan heads tried to adopt him they denied it. He told her. I'm going to make them pay, growled Minato. He was just about to bolt out the door with Kushina following him. Stop, Minato, Kushina, said Sarutobi in a loud voice. They both stopped and glared at him. What do you want? Growled Kushina. This. Sarutobi gave his hand out with the letter Naruto gave him 10 years ago. Minato and Kushina walked over to him and took the letter and looked at it confused. What is it? Asked Kushina. It was from Naruto, replied by Sarutobi. This shocked both Minato and Kushina, and quickly opened it and read what it said. Dear Gigi, goodbye Gigi, love Naruto. When they finished, Sarutobi told them how they put out the fire, and he brought Naruto to his office hoping that he was still alive. When he took a restroom break he saw that Naruto was missing and that there was a letter on his desk. The handwriting was messy, but they could make out the words. Tears started to go down Kushina and Minato's eyes. A ray of hope has just opened up for them. Does that mean he is still alive? Asked Kushina, hoping to get a positive answer. I don't know yet. I've been sending out my most trusted ANBU and shinobis to look for him every time I can, but they couldn't find a trace of him. I've even tried Jiraiya, but he also failed, Sarutobi told her. Then we will just have to buff up the search then, said Minato, slamming his hand on the desk. Sarutobi looked at him with a raised eyebrow. And how do you plan on doing that? He asked. Minato had a grin on his face that shows he was planning something. He simply explained, and he told Sarutobi and Kushina his plan. In the end they both grinned at his devious plan. I like it, said Sarutobi with a laugh, and now smiling. Me too, said Kushina, now clinging onto her husband's arm. Now let's give Konoha some hell, said Minato, and they walked out of the door. Oh yeah, one more thing Sandaime Hokage, said Minato. Yeah, what is it? Asked Sarutobi. Grow some fucking backbone, he yelled, and Sarutobi started to sweat a little. Council meeting room. There was a sudden call for a council meeting. All the people there were grumbling and complaining about how they were interrupted during their party time. Then the Sandaime Hokage came in. What do you need us for, Sarutobi? You interrupted us during our party time, complained one of the villagers. Yes, seriously Sarutobi, today is the death of the demon child, complained to Hamura Mitokado, who is one of Sarutobi's partners. First of all, you will not address me as Sarutobi, but as Hokage-sama. I am sick and tired of you little worthless wizards and your damn disrespect. This is mostly addressed to the village council, so don't take anything personal from clan heads, said Sarutobi. The clan head just nodded, while everyone else was scared. When did Sarutobi get a backbone? Thought one of the members. Anyways, I am here to introduce someone you all know, he said, pointed at the door. Suddenly the door opened wide, and two people appeared, the Sandaime Hokage and the Konoha Red Devil. Everyone in the council room frozen there. Standing in front of them is two of their beloved ninja. Sandaime Hokage, is that you? Said one of the village council, who happened to be Lily Haruno. Yup, it is, flesh and alive, he replied, but there was a lot of hate in his voice. The village council members got scared. While the clan had just smirked, they somewhat knew why. That's great news. Yandame Hokage, after this we can celebrate, said the councilman, and a few more started talking about karaoke, and bar, and drinks. Silence, roared Minato. Then everyone was silent. They could see Minato's face showing anger, and they didn't want to risk it. Now I have something to tell you all, stated Minato. I will be taking the position of Hokage again. Everyone started to cheer, but Minato yelled out another silence, and they shut up. What about Kushina? Will she become a shinobi again? Asked Konoha. Minato glared at her, and their little group with Hamura and Danzo. Sarutobi told him about them, and when he was in office he was going to take care of them personally. Especially Danzo. No, my wife Kushina, said Minato until he was cut off by Minazuka. Hand over them money, boys. Minazuka shouted. Yamanaka and Noichi, Choza Akimichi both grumbled something about women and money as they reached into their pockets, while Shikaku mumbled trouble to Lily as he also reached into his pocket. In the end they pulled out about a few bills of Rio and handed it to Tsum, who gladly accepted it with a grin. You were betting on my marriage? Yelled Kushina. Yes, sure, why not? I mean, I know you guys were going to get married sooner or later, it's just that these idiots didn't believe me, and we made a bet, replied Tsum, who is now counting her money. Kushina sighed, and let Minato continue. As I was saying, my wife Kushina will be a shinobi, but she will not teach any children, and will only answer to me, not to you idiots. Also, she will only go on missions I tell her to, not anyone else. He told them. Everyone was shocked. Most people wanted the Red Devil to teach their children to become great ninjas, but apparently that was gone. That's absurd, yelled Lily Haruno. Minato glared at her, and she became quiet. Let me continue. My wife Kushina will be going on one mission, and only that mission until she completes it. She will not be going on any other mission no matter what, only if the mission is related to her assigned mission. You may help her if you like, but you have to report to me first, and I have to agree. Minato continued. Everyone was confused about what the mission was. Hyuga Hisashi, who was quite the whole meeting, spoke up. What is this mission, Hokage-sama? Minato looked at his friend, and then smiled. The mission is to look for my missing son Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. My son is Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, announced Minato. The council was silent. Everyone had their eyes widened. Well, not Hayashi, since he didn't want to show any emotion. It was silent for about 5 minutes until one of the village councilmen spoke out. Impossible, the demon brat cannot be the son of our beloved Yandame, yelled the councilman. When Minato heard this, his anger grew. He flashed in front of the councilman. He lifted him up by his first and glared at him, while flashing a lot of killing intent, making the councilman flinch. I don't want you or anyone to ever insult my son. If you do, I will make you wish that you were never born, yelled Minato so that everyone could hear him. Minato then dropped the councilman and flashed back next to his wife. Yandame Hokage, you must be spouting out lies. Prove to us that Naruto is your legitimate son, said Hamura with a smirk. He still didn't believe that Naruto was his son, as did many others. Minato just chuckled at his demand. Fine, you want proof? I'll get you proof, replied Minato, and he went through a few hand signs and slammed his hand on the table and shouted Tuchio's no jutsu after there was smoke. The smoke cleared to reveal a large frog. Well, it was bigger than the average human. Who summoned me? Asked the frog. I did, Gamasushi, stated Minato, gaining the frog's attention. When the frog saw him, he was shocked. Yandame Hokage, you were alive? Asked Gamasushi. Yes, I'll tell you the story another time. Do you have a Naruto birth certificate with you? Gamasushi nodded, and opened his mouth, and stuck his tongue out. Minutes later a scroll came out, and rolled off his tongue. There's also your marriage license/certificate in there. Minato took it, and nodded. Thank you, Gamasushi. Seconds later Gamasushi vanishes in a puff of smoke. Minato walked over to the Yandame Hokage, and handed him the scroll. There is the birth certificate, said Minato. Sarutobi nodded, and took the scroll, opened it, and read it. When he finished he placed it on the table. Yes, this is a legitimate certificate, said Sarutobi. This shocked mostly the village council, Hamura, Konoha, and Danzo. Also some clan heads. He passed the scroll around to the clan heads so they could also confirm it. When they saw it they just nodded. After they finished, Minato took it, and sealed it away so that no one could get it. Oh, and this information will stay within the council, if anyone from outside knows of this, said Minato, sending out killing intent. You will know what will happen to you. Are we clear? The council all nodded. Good. I'm sorry to inform you of Yandame Hokage, but your son Naruto died 10 years ago, said Konoha. Minato glared at her. Yes, I know, Yandame Hokage told me everything, sending a lot of killing intent to the village council, Hamura, Konoha, and Danzo. It was too much for some village members to handle, and caused some of them to faint. That demon deserves, said one village member before he was punched across the room, knocking him out when he came in contact with the wall. Didn't I say I'll make you wish you were never alive if you insult my son? Said Minato, giving out more killing intent, making more people pass out. Half the village council pissed themselves. Since Yondaime is back and alive, I will be stepping down as Hokage and giving it to Yondaime, said Sarutobi, trying his best to get everyone's attention. Everyone all stared at Minato, who had a smirk on his face. I'm too old for this anyways, stated Sarutobi. Minato walked right next to the Sandaime Hokage. Thank you, Sandaime Hokage. Now for my first decree, the village council will be disbanded and no longer will be part of the council meeting, announced Minato. Then there was a huge uproar. That ridiculous Hokage-sama. You can't do that, yelled a councilman. After many more people argued the same thing, Minato sent out some killing intent to shut them up. I can, and I will, he yelled. Now get out. I want to talk with the clan heads. We will not leave. We are part of the council, and we will hear what you have to say, replied a villager. When I said get out, I mean get the fuck out. You damn ungrateful bastards. Minato started to charge up and send out a lot of killing intent, making the village council quickly run out the door, and soon it was empty except for the clan heads, Hamura, Konoha, and Danzo. Minato looked over to Hamura and the other two, and noticed that they were still there. When I said I want to clan heads, I only meant the clan heads. Now get out, yelled Minato. You can't do this, Minato. We are part of the council, and we will hear whatever this meeting is about, argued Konoha. Minato flashed in front of her and started to choke her. You will address me as Hokage-sama. I am not your friend, nor am I the Sandaime Hokage, so you can't just do whatever you want. As I say, you will leave. Boo, said Minato. Then a few ANBU members came. You called Hokage-sama? Asked an ANBU member kneeling in front of Minato. Please escort these three outside the door and put up a silence barrier. I don't want people to listen to this, replied Minato, as he dropped Konoha. Hi, Hokage-sama. With that, the ANBU got up and dragged Hamura, Konoha, and Danzo out of the council room and put up a silence barrier. Minato watched as he dragged them out, then he looked back at the clan's head, which were sweating. He sighed and then continued. Why have you not protected my son? I trusted all of you all the most in the village, asked Minato. The clan heads were silent. They all had their heads down. They were ashamed of themselves. Minato could only be mad and sad, and looked over to his best friend Hayashi. Why did you not protect my son? He asked Hayashi. I didn't want my clan to be involved with him. I thought it would be in the best interest of my clan. If I had known he was your son, then it would have been different. I now realize my mistake, replied Hayashi in a sad tone. Minato glared at him and was about to say something until he was interrupted. Danzo and the council threatened me, said a voice. They looked over to see it was Inoichi. When he noticed everyone had their eyes on him, he continued. I tried to adopt him once, but the council said that if I did, then they would strip my clan rights. It happened most of the time. When anyone tried to adopt Naruto, they would be threatened, said Sarutobi. Minato understood what he meant and nodded. Fine, I understand, but I can't forgive you yet. The clan head had their heads down since they accepted this, but sometime in the future I can. I ask that you help my wife in searching for Naruto, said Minato. The clan heads looked at him confused. But Naruto died 10 years ago, said Sim. Minato shook his head. Yes, I know. Sandaime told me everything. He also gave me his letter that Naruto wrote after the attack, said Minato, taking out Naruto's letter and letting the clan heads read it. They were shocked when they read it. Does that mean he is alive? Asked Inoichi. It's possible. I only ask that you help me, and my wife looks for her, Minato replied. I would very much appreciate your help in looking for my son, added Kushina. I understand. I will do what I can to help you. I made many mistakes in my life, but I will try my best to correct them, said Hayashi. Minato smiled at his friend. Me too, shouted Sim. Count me in, shouted Choza. Anything to help a friend, said Inoichi. How troublesome. But I guess it can work, said Shikaku. Then all the other clan heads agreed to help look for Naruto. Minato and Kushina smiled. Thank you for your support, said Minato and Kushina. Minato then looked at Sarutobi. Sandaime, can I ask you something? Asked Minato. Sure, what Minato is, Minato? Replied Sarutobi. Why is there an underground base in Konoha? What are you talking about, Minato? There is no underground base. When you called for the meeting, I made a few clones to explore Konoha, and one of them found an underground base. Sarutobi was silent for a while, thinking about what Minato just told him. Damn Danzo, he must still be keeping his ANBU army alive, the root said Sarutobi. This shocked everyone. Wait, but I thought we told him he was forbidden to keep the root, said Choza. He must have been keeping it a secret from everyone, answered Shikaku. I also heard that he wanted to use Naruto as a living weapon, but Sandaime Hokage forbade him to even touch Naruto. Kushina got mad when she heard someone using her son as a weapon, but was relieved that Sarutobi didn't let him. Now I have a reason to execute Danzo and get rid of him, said Sarutobi, chuckling. He looked up at Minato with a smile on his face. Please show me where his base is, The faster we rid him the better. I agree. I'll show you after the meeting, replied Minato. When will we begin to look for Naruto? Asked Sum. Hopefully by next week when we settled in, replied Kushina. Well, it's time for me to announce my arrival to the village meeting. Adjourn meeting at the top of Hokage Tower in 2 hours, said Minato, getting ready to leave. All the clan heads got up and left. When Minato, Kushina, and Sarutobi headed back to the Hokage office. Now you want me to show you the underground base? Asked Minato. Sarutobi nodded in reply. Minato and Sarutobi walked to the middle floor of the Hokage Tower. Suddenly Minato stopped in front of a wall. Sarutobi was confused, but didn't want to say anything. In front of them was a portrait of Konoha. Minato took the portrait off the wall, revealing a seal behind it. Sarutobi was shocked how he did not notice this. How did you know there was a seal here? Asked Sarutobi, still stunned. Well, my clone I was walking with noticed a small hint of chakra, and found the seal, replied Minato. And he did some hand seals and put his palm on the seal. He yelled out to Kai, and then the seal started to shine. Seconds later it disappeared, and the wall moved to the side, revealing a door. Well, here's the stairs, said Minato with a grin. Sarutobi nodded, and motioned for some ANBU guards to go with them. When they entered there were stairs, and started to walk down. Konoha underground base, root base. Minato, Sarutobi, and the few ANBUs were slashing through their enemy, defeating them one by one. Sarutobi was amazed at how big Danzo's little army was. They already defeated about 20 men, and it seemed like there was another one every few minutes. Hurry, we must find Danzo before he makes his escape, yelled Sarutobi. Everyone nodded, and they quickly dashed to find the commander's room. During the attack, one of the root members was informed of the small invasion, and quickly ran to the command room where Danzo is held. He quickly opened the door, and bowed down to Danzo, who looked at him. What is it? Spit it out, I don't have all day, said Danzo. He was quite irritated due to the fact that Minato was alive. So we have been founded, and a group of shinobi are coming this way, as we speak, said that root member. Danzo got up, and stared at him in shock and anger. Then we must leave at once, said Danzo, as he stormed out the room, followed by the root member, only to freeze where he stood. Hello Danzo, greeted Sarutobi. They managed to find the commander's room on time right before Danzo was about to escape. Hiruzen hissed. Danzo also narrowed his eyes. How did you find me? Sarutobi just smirked. Let's say that portrait fell, and I found a seal, stated Sarutobi. Then Danzo jumped back, and started to perform a hand seal. Before he could finish he felt pain on stomach. Rasengan, shouted Minato, and he slammed a blue spiral ball at Danzo's stomach. Danzo was sent flying back, breaking a few walls behind him. He struggled to get up, and in front of him stood Minato, glaring at him. I heard that you were planning on using my son as a weapon, said Minato coldly. Danzo glared back at him. How did you know? He asked, not to move his eyes away from Minato. I heard from Sandaime Hokage, replied Minato, as he got another spiral ball in his hand. Danzo tried to move, but could because of the last attack that hurt him badly. He lay where he was looking at Minato, the Sandaime Hokage. Minato just smirked as he got ready the spiral ball ready to attack. He then slammed the ball, yelling out Rasengan into Danzo's chest, making Danzo go wide-eyed. The attack made a crater on the ground with Danzo lying there motionless. Sarutobi smiled at Minato when he saw the final attack. He then looked at the now dead Danzo. If only you weren't a power-hungry fool, thought Sarutobi, and he looked over at the ANBU that just came. Have you finished collecting the remaining root member? Asked Sarutobi. Hi Hokage-sama, we managed to capture 5 more. There doesn't seem to be anyone else in the base. We also cleaned up the remaining dead bodies, replied an ANBU member who had a cat mask on. Sarutobi nodded in return. Alright, let's clean this up. We need to go to the top of the Hokage Tower soon. It's almost time for the Sandaime Hokage announcement, said Sarutobi, then looked over to Minato, who nodded in return. The ANBU members grabbed Danzo's dead body, and the other grabbed the remaining root member. Then they started to dash off, only for Minato to collapse on the ground. They all looked over to him worried. Sandaime Hokage-sama, are you alright? Asked an ANBU who had a falcon mask. He helped Minato get up from the ground. Yeah, I'm fine, just exhausted. I guess 16 years in a coma makes you exhausted really fast, said Minato with a smile. Sarutobi smiled, and so did the ANBU members, though you couldn't see them. It really great to have Sandaime back, they all thought. They helped Minato outside the base. When they finally got outside, Sarutobi ordered the ANBU member to cremate Danzo's body while the root members were in prison for now, and to be ready for the announcement. They nodded, and shunshin at what they're supposed to do. Hokage office. Kushina, who was looking at the village from the window, could only cringe at the sight. The village was having a festival about her son, and it pissed her. She was interrupted by the sound of the door opening. She looked over to see Sarutobi, who was carrying Minato. Minato, what happened to you? Asked Kushina, worried. Minato looked up at her, and had a wide grin. Oh, nothing really, it's just the side effects of being in a coma for 16 years, he replied in a joking tone, and a big smile on his face. Kushina nodded, and smiled back. Well, we should be going for almost 2 hours, said Sarutobi. Minato and Kushina nodded, and they headed to the top of the Hokage Tower. Top of Hokage Tower. Everyone in the village was gathered around the Hokage Tower, wondering what the big news is about. At the top of the tower there were the clan heads, Hamura and Kanaru, evenly lined up into 2 lines. Hey, you know what this about? Asked a villager. No, but maybe Hokage will finally celebrate the death of the demon brat with us, replied another villager. Yeah, maybe let's just pay attention when it is about to start. All the chattering stopped when Sarutobi appeared before them. Today I will resign as the Hokage and pass it down to someone else, said Sarutobi. The village was shocked. Then the chattering came back. Who can it be? Asked a villager. Do you think it might be one of the clan heads? Asked another villager. Sarutobi raised his hand up to sign for them to be quiet. When the village became quiet, he continued with his speech. The person that will be the next Hokage, Namikaze Minato the Yondaime Hokage, shouts Sarutobi. Minto stepped out of the shadows to show his face to the village. The village was silent at first, and then started to cheer. Hooray! Yondaime Hokage is alive and back, cheered a villager. We must celebrate this great news. Drinks on me when we go back to the bar, shouted another villager. And the cheers went on, and on the shinobi side most of them cheered, as some of them were still shocked to see Minato alive. Minato stood his hand out, and the crowd quieted down. Minato Namikaze Yondaime Hokage has returned with my wife Namikaze Uzumaki Kushina. I will retake the position as Hokage and help Konoha grow to its greatest, announced Minato, and he and Kushina left the roof of the tower and went to their home because they were tired. It has been a long day for them. At the same time they left, the crowd cheered once again. They cheered about their beloved Yondaime Hokage coming back from the dead, and the death of the demon child. When Minato and Kushina heard this, they couldn't help but be angry. When they heard Kushina was alive, they were cheering even louder. Kushina was a renowned kunoichi. She was also an idol to many kunoichi in the village. Many kunoichi looked up to her, as much as Tsunade. Many of the villagers hoped that Kushina would teach their children to become great shinobi. Boy, where are they wrong. Namikaze estate. Minato and Kushina stood in front of the Namikaze estate. The estate was sealed away so that people won't rob the place. The only way to open the seal is the blood of a Namikaze. Minato bit his finger and let the blood run out and put it on the seal. The seal lit up and disappeared, and they opened the door and went inside. They walked through the house in silence, looking at the untouched furniture. They went through the many rooms to see its conditions. It was all untouched since the last time they left it. Then they stopped in front of one room. The room read Naruto. They both let a tear run down their face before they opened it. They entered the room. The room was painted blue and yellow. There was a crib on the right side of the room, and baby clothes folded on the left. Back then they planned out Naruto's room and everything before he was born. Then the attack came, and the plan was ruined. They were dead while Naruto was alive. But now it was the opposite. They were alive, and Naruto was dead. Kushina started to cry as Minato hugged her, trying his best to comfort her. Later during the day they ate dinner and fell asleep, thinking of Naruto. At Wagakure, one day after the announcement of the new Hokage, news spread like wildfire in the shinobi world. All the hidden village Kages have already gotten the news of the Yondaime Hokage being alive, and are now the Hokage from their spies. The Sandaime Tsuchikage named Inoki was extremely happy about the news. Now I can finally get my revenge I have long sought, he thought to himself, as he laughed out loud. Ow, my back, he groaned. He laughed so much that his back cracked. He then called for a council meeting. The people at the council meeting looked at Inoki. Why have we been called for a sudden council meeting, Tsuchikage? Asked the councilman. Inoki just grinned and took out the report his spies sent him. The report was then distributed to all the councilmen. As they read it, they were all shocked. Does this mean? Asked the councilman before he was interrupted. Yes, it does. Now we can finally get our revenge, shouted Inoki, and the councilman nodded. Now time for the plan, but first we contact our allies. It is time to make Konoha perish, said Inoki, and then the council was dismissed, and Inoki told his shinobi to contact his allies. Konoha. 3 days after the announcement, Minato and Kushina are walking around Konoha. Minato made some clones to do his paperwork for him. For the past few days the villagers and friends greeted him. One day during his work his student Hatake Kakashi visited him. Flashback. Kakashi entered the Hokage office. Kakashi, what brings you here? Asked Minato when he saw Kakashi enter. I want to apologize to Sensei, said Kakashi, bowing his head. Apologize for what? Asked Minato with a raised eyebrow. For failing you. I couldn't protect Naruto. I was one of Naruto's bodyguards, but every time I left on missions, the villagers would attack him, replied Kakashi, his head still down. It's okay Kakashi, I forgive you, you tried your best, giving Kakashi a reassuring smile. I don't deserve your forgiveness for failing to protect your legacy. And son, it's okay, but it seems that Naruto might still be alive. Kakashi was shocked when he heard this, and he looked at Minato with wide eyes. "What do you mean alive? I thought he died," asked Kakashi in a shocked tone. "Here, read this. It happened after the attack," said Minato, giving Kakashi the letter. Kakashi took it and read what was on it. He was shocked after he read it, and then felt horrible. He should have gone and looked for Naruto if he had known about this. "I ask that you help my wife to look for Naruto," said Minato, breaking Kakashi out of his thoughts. "I will do everything I can," replied Kakashi, and he left to train. Back to Minato and Kushina. Minato and Kushina continued to walk through the village, greeting anyone they knew. Eventually they reached the open spa. They walked around the spa and heard something. It sounded like someone giggling. They walked over to the voice. They saw someone peeking through the walls. He is having a slight nosebleed and is giggling to himself. He had long white spiky hair and wore a red coat, carried a large scroll on his back, and wore wooden sandals. "This is great research," he muttered. Minato and Kushina heard this and knew who it was, and they started to get mad. The man felt a lot of killing intent behind him and started to sweat bullets. "Hello, sensei," said Minato in a cold voice. The man froze where he was and slowly turned his head while shaking. The man turned out to be Minato one and only Sensei Jiraiya. Jiraiya, now facing Minato, was scared for his life. Minato and Kushina had a dark aura around them. They were glaring at him. "Hey Minato and Kushina, it's great to see you again," said Jiraiya, sounding very scared. "It's great to see you too, Jiraiya," said Kushina with a smile, but giving more killing intent, making Jiraiya squirm. "What are you doing, Jiraiya?" asked Kushina. Taking a stroll around Konoha to see the happy civilians," replied Jiraiya. "Are you sure, or are you doing your research?" added Minato. Jiraiya started to sweat even more. "No, totally not," argued Jiraiya. Minato punched him, making Jiraiya fly into the spa full of women. The women all scream and start beating the pervert. Hokage office. Jiraiya is standing in front of the Hokage desk, his face all bruised up and puffed. "What was that for?" whined Jiraiya. "That is for abandoning your godson to do something stupid like your stupid research," replied Minato. Jiraiya was sad when Minato brought it up. "I'm sorry, Minato." It was the only thing Jiraiya could say. He didn't look after Naruto when he was supposed to, and in the end Naruto died. "Why couldn't you do one simple job? All I ask is you watch over him, and what I get, my son is dead," yelled Minato. Jiraiya could only lower his head some more. "Where is Tsunade? She was his godmother. I couldn't bring a child with me when I'm out spying." Minato glared at him some more. "You never even met him from what Sarutobi told me." Jiraiya didn't have a comeback for that, because it was true, he never met the child. As for Tsunade, she left the village when the council told her Naruto was dead during the sealing. She was depressed after losing her last family. "And why haven't you tried to look for her?" "I tried." Minato raised his hand to stop Jiraiya. "Whatever, I don't want to hear it. It seems like Naruto might be alive. I was wondering if your Sky Network found anything about him." Jiraiya shook his head, meaning no. "Sorry Minato, my spies haven't, but they did find something I think is important for you to know," said Jiraiya. "What is it?" asked Minato. "Iwagakure is in an alliance with Kumogakure," said Jiraiya, "and that Tsuchikage are planning something with that snake Orochimaru without the Raikage knowing." "Get to the point already, sensei. After the news of you being alive," said Jiraiya, waiting a moment before continuing. "Iwagakure and Otogekure are planning an invasion on Konoha." "Iwagakure and Otogekure are planning an invasion on Konoha," said Jiraiya. Minato had wide eyes. "It seems that Kumogakure might help them since of their alliance with Iwagakure," continued Jiraiya. "I thought the Raikage didn't like Orochimaru," said Minato. "He doesn't, but I think that Otogekure might come from a different way without Raikage knowledge," replied Jiraiya. "If they invade us, then we will be facing two great hidden villages, Orochimaru village. So even with Sauna help we will still be outnumbered," stated Minato. Jiraiya just nodded. "When will the invasion happen?" "If my connections are correct, in about 3 weeks." Minato was deep in thought, and he didn't know what to do. "I have a suggestion," said Jiraiya, breaking Minato out of his intense thinking. Minato looked at him, giving him his full attention. "There is a guy named Inazuma Erasure, Lightning Storm," continued Jiraiya. Inazuma Erasure asked Minato with a confused look. "Yeah, he is a ninja who is really strong. Rumors say he can create storms." Minato was amazed to hear this. "I suggest we find him and ask for his help." "Fine, I'll consider it. Just where does he live though?" asked Minato. "No one knows exactly, but rumors say he lives on an island in between Kumogakure and Kirigakure," replied Jiraiya. "Alright, I'll send a dispatch team tomorrow. Go contact your spy network and find more information on the invasion." Jiraiya nodded his head and was about to leave before he told Minato stopped him and told him to find Tsunade and drag her back to the village whether she wants to or not. Jiraiya nodded and walked out feeling really scared, knowing what Tsunade might do to him. Kushina, who was there for the whole conversation, came up and walked to Minato. "What are you going to do now?" asked Kushina. "Do you want to be one of the people in the team?" asked Minato. Kushina thought about it, and nodded. Sure, I can use some training, and maybe I could also look for Naruto along the way. Let's hope we find some clue on him. Anyways, how many people do you need for this mission? Let's see, I guess a 4-women cell team could work. And who do you have in mind? Probably the people who help protect Naruto, Kurenai, Yugogo, and Anko. Alright, I'll send a message to them. Be back in about 2 hours? Kushina nodded, and left the Hokage office. Konoha village. 2 women came out of a store. One of them had purple hair wearing a brown trench coat and a fishnet shirt, and the other had black long hair, red eyes, and wore a dress with one of the arms red while the other was cut off. Dango, how I love dango! Cheered the purple hair girl, gobbling down on the dango she just bought from the store. Anko, calms down before you start choking, pleaded the black hair woman. They're so good I can't help myself. Whined Anko. Kurenai just sighed, and noticed an ANBU member Shunshin in front of them. They request your presence at the office in 2 hours, said the ANBU member. Kurenai and Anko nodded, and the ANBU member Shunshin. I wonder why they need us, said Anko. I don't know, but I guess it must be important, replied Kurenai. Hokage office. 2 hours later, Anko and Kurenai entered the office, and were surprised to see their friend Yugogo. Yugogo, what are you doing here? Asked Anko. I was called here. What about you guys? Replied Yugogo. Same with us. Minato didn't want the conversation to drag out too long and start coughing to get their attention. Our apologies to Hokage-sama. We kind of got out of hand. Apologized to Kurenai. It's alright, just call me Minato. I don't really like the whole Sama thing, replied Minato with a grin. I called you here because I have a special mission for you 3. The 3 girls were a little shocked. What is this mission? Asked Yugogo. You will be in a 4-cell team, and will be on an A-rank mission, to look for someone by the name Inazuma Erasure. Why do we need to look for him? I have information that Otogekure and Iwagakure are planning an invasion in 3 weeks. The 3 girls were shocked when they heard this. Minato waited for a few seconds, and continued speaking. There is a man named Inazuma Erasure who is a really strong shinobi. I want you to ask him to help us defend Konoha. The 3 girls were silent, but listening. Then who is our 4th member? Asked Kurenai when she noticed that only 3 of them were only present. I am, said a voice. All the girls turned around, and their eyes widened when they saw their idol standing in front of them. They all started to charge at Kushina. Oh my gosh! It's really you! You're my idol! Can I get your autograph? Yelled Anko, Kurenai, and Yugogo standing in front of Kushina, their eyes glowing with stars. Kushina's sweat dropped and smiled. Sure thing, she said, and all 3 girls squealed. After they got their autograph, they glared at Minato, making him shiver. You don't tell anyone about this, they said darkly. Minato nodded in reply, scared to think about what would happen to him if he did. I still can't believe that we are on the same team as you, said Anko happily. I personally chose you girls to go with me on this mission, said Kushina. Why? Asked Yugogo. That's because you tried your best to help my son Naruto. When they heard this, their eyes widened. Your son is Naruto? Asked Kurenai, still shocked. Yup. The 3 girls all then had their heads down. It's okay, don't feel bad, I know you tried your best to protect him, reassured Kushina. The 3 girls still had their heads down. He still might be alive. Then the 3 girls looked up. Really? They all said at the same time. Kushina nodded. This mission will also be trying to find some clues on Naruto. The 3 girls nodded in reply. We will try our best to help find Naruto, they said in unison. Okay, then pack up your things for a week. We will be leaving tomorrow. The 3 girls shunshin to get ready for tomorrow's mission. Kushina looked over to Minato. I'll see you at home, she said. Minato nodded, and Kushina also shunshin to get ready for the mission. Konoha gates. Next day, Anko, Kurenai, Yugogo, Kushina, and Minato were at the gate. Anko, Kurenai, and Yugogo were trying to hold in their laughter. They started walking early so Kushina wouldn't see or hear them. Kushina and Minato were in a heated argument. Did you pack everything? Asked Minato. Yes, I did, groaned Kushina. Extra clothes? Yes. Extra food? Yes. Extra instant ramen? Yes. Extra underwear? Yes. Damn it, I'm leaving, roared Kushina, and she caught up to the rest of the group. Seconds later they left, leaving Minato at the gates without a farewell kiss. Poor Minato. Forest. Aren't they such a cute couple? Whisper Yugogo. Yeah, they are. I hope I can find someone like that. Someone who I can live my life with forever, replied Anko in a whisper. Yugogo and Kurenai nodded. Yeah, me too, they both replied. Yugogo had lost her love a while ago. He died during a mission. After that she could never bring herself to like someone else. Kurenai, who thought she found her love, but caught him cheating with another kunoichi. Asuma was his name. She thought he was the one, but when she caught him cheating on her, it broke her heart. As for Anko, just like Naruto, she was mistreated by many Konoha civilians and some shinobis. Kushina was still a little frustrated about Minato's overprotective action to notice what her teammates were saying about her. Some island on the map, in between Kumo and Kiri. If you don't know how the map looks like, then looked it up. The group has been traveling for 4 days already. They had been to about 2 small islands with no luck. This was their third, and the last island on the map. They hoped they would find something on this island or else Konoha would be in trouble. As they walked they noticed a small village. They entered to investigate. The villagers noticed them and greeted them. "Hello, welcome to our small village," greeted the village elder. "Hello, thank you for taking us in," greeted Kushina. "Why have you come here? We rarely get any visitors. We are Konoha ninjas, and our village is in trouble. We've come to look for someone by the name Inazuma. Rumors say that he lives somewhere around here." The elder nodded, understanding their situation. "I understand. The man you are looking for does live here. Can you tell me where he lives?" The elder nodded and pointed to the hill. "His house is at the top of the hill," said the elder, pointing at a small hill. Kushina noticed the house on the hill and quickly bowed to the elder. "Thank you very much," she said. "No problem. It is nice to help someone in need. Can I ask you something before we leave?" "Sure, what is it? Can you tell us what Inazuma is like?" "Sure. Inazuma is a great man, always helping the weak. He is also very strong, probably the strongest I have met in my life. He also is very caring. He is always helping the weak and people in need. He also protects us from many attacks from other villages that want to take over." When the elder finished, the 4 kunoichi were amazed. This Inazuma person must be something for all of this compliment he is getting. "We'll be on our way now." With that the group nodded to the elder and the villagers and headed toward the hill. "Thank you very much." The elder smiled and watched them walk off. On the hill they noticed the house the elder pointed to them. It wasn't big or anything, but it was decent. It was a 1-story house, and the materials were very good so it could withstand the strongest of storms. In the front of the house was a small, but beautiful well-kept garden, having all kinds of vegetables, fruits, and flowers. All 4 girls were impressed when they saw this. As they came closer to the house they started to feel like their conscience was leaving them. Then suddenly they were in another world. "Kill the demon," they heard. All 4 girls turned to the sound and they were horrified at the sight. It was a mob of civilians and ninjas charging at them, throwing kunai and shrunken and weapons at them. They ran for their life to avoid the projectiles. It's not that strong, but we will need to focus to get out of it," said Kurinai. All 4 girls held their hands in a sign, and all said Kai at the same time. Seconds later they disappeared, and they were huffing and puffing for air. "Phew, that was close. I wonder why there was a cast on the house," said Anko, still out of breath. "Maybe for defense purposes," replied Kurinai. They came to the porch and knocked on the door. There was no answer. After they knocked again, and there was no answer. "Is anyone there?" Anko gave it another knock. This time the door creaked open. All the girls peeked inside to see if there was anyone. They noticed the room was dark. There was something lying on the wall that caught their eyes. It was a large sword. It was leaning on the wall of the house. Kushina and Yugo couldn't help but be amazed at the sword. It was beautifully crafted, and just by looking at it they could tell that it was well crafted with probably the best material, and probably one of the most well crafted swords they ever saw. Kushina reached out her hand to try and touch the sword. "Hello there," said a voice behind them. They turned around to see 2 figures behind them. One was a very beautiful woman. She had long red hair that reached to her back and had an impressive bust. It wasn't too big nor was it small. She was wearing a red kimono that showed her perfect hourglass figure. They couldn't help but notice that she has slim, long arms and legs with all the curves at the right place, which can make men drool, and also made them a little bit jealous. She was about 5'5". Then they saw her face. Her face was angelic with red eyes. It was as if they saw a goddess in front of them. The other figure they could notice was a male since he didn't have a noticeable curve at his chest area. He stood about 6 feet. He was wearing a hood that covered his hair, eyes, and most of the top part of his face. He was wearing a dark gray trench coat, pants with tape, and a kunai holder on the left leg. "Hello there," repeatedly. They came out of their stare and straightened themselves. "Hello," Kushina replied. "And who might you be? I could be asking you the same thing since you are invading my home." This shocked the 4 girls. "Could you be Inazuma, asked Kurinai. "Yup. Now who are you people?" "We are ninjas from Konoha, and we came to ask for your help," replied Kushina. The man growled softly when he heard where they were from, but no one noticed it. Inazuma and the lady came up into the house and opened the door to walk in. "Come in," he said, and they followed when he entered. Inside the house was really simple. There was the kitchen, and the kitchen table on one side, and the other was the living room with 3 rooms, 2 bedrooms, and a bathroom. The living room simply had a slightly large couch and a table. As they walked in, Kushina, Yugo couldn't help but eye the sword. Inazuma noticed this and told them that he crafted the sword himself. The 2 girls turned to him, their faces showing shocked and awe. They sat at the kitchen table on one side, Inazuma and the lady, while the other was the 4 kunoichi. "Now what is it that you need?" asked Inazuma. "We need your help," replied Kushina. My help? What does one of the strongest hidden villages want my help for? There is an invasion on Konoha in 3 weeks. We need your help to defend against Odo, IWA, and Kumo. Kushina then told Inazuma everything she knew about the invasion. They are taking part in the invasion? He asked. Yes, that's what our information says. Still, why should I help you? Don't you have an alliance with Suna? Yes, but we will still be overwhelmed. We also heard that you help people that are in need of help. You don't need my help. Your village holds some of the strongest clans and shinobi to walk on the elemental nations. I understand, but we are still in dire need of your assistance in this war. I prefer not to be involved with Konoha. Why? Konoha is on bad terms with me. All 4 kunoichi were confused. What did Konoha do to you? Asked Yugago, hoping to get an answer. They didn't do anything to me. Then why is Konoha on bad terms with you? Asked Kurnai, jumping to the conversation. Konoha may seem one of the most peaceful villages from the outside, but I know what happens within the walls. And what would that be? 10 years ago I met a boy named Naruto. The 4 kunoichi were shocked to hear the name, especially Kushina. Kushina, who loved her dead son and wanted any clue on her son, immediately asked Naruto, what do you know about Naruto, please tell me? Inazuma was a bit startled by the woman's sudden outburst, but shrugged it off. 10 years ago I found Naruto lying on the ground almost dead near the country of lightning. I took him in and helped him. I trained him, and he left many years ago to roam the other ninja world to learn what he can. Kushina looked relieved to know that Naruto might still be alive, but sad because the information didn't give her any clue on where Naruto is. You will know my answer on the day of the invasion, said Inazuma. What do you mean by that? Asked Kushina. On the day of the invasion, if I am there then I will help, but if I'm not then you probably guess that I won't. Now shouldn't you be getting ready to prepare for the invasion, and tell your Hokage about my announcement? The 4 kunoichi stood up and bowed. I hope that you help us. We will be leaving now, said Kushina, and the other 3 also said their goodbyes, and also left. Inazuma closed the door when they left, and looked at the lady. A good thing that was over. Sighed, Inazuma was relieved. He went over to the couch, and slumped onto the couch. The lady walked over to the couch, and sat next to Inazuma. Are you okay? She asked, a little worried. Yeah, I'm fine, just a little tired, he replied back. What are you going to do, Inazuma-kun? Probably not help Konoha. What are you going to do, Inazuma-kun? Probably not help Konoha. What are you going to do about him? You know how much he cares for Kumo. And we are pretty sure that the Reikage doesn't know about the snake theme. The women got up from the couch, and took a glass of water, and drank it. I will need to tell him then. And how are you going to do that? The man scratched his chin for a moment, and then got an idea. How about you tell them, since you are pretty much bonded to him? The woman had a small blush on her face, but quickly hid it so the man couldn't see her. Okay, I'll tell him. I can't wait to see him again, the woman said happily while Inazuma just rolled his eyes. What should I tell him exactly? About the invasion, and to meet me in Konoha on the day of the invasion. The woman raised an eyebrow. Do you really think he will go to Konoha? He will if it has anything to do with Kumo, and I have a surprise for him. The woman just sighed. Knowing Inazuma and his condition, she has a good grasp about it. Well, I'll be going to sleep, said the woman, leaving the kitchen to one of the bedrooms on the right. Good night, Akane-san, replied Inazuma, also got up from the couch to go to the other bedroom on the left. He put on his nightgown, which consisted of shorts and a white t-shirt. After he brushed his teeth, he went to bed. Next morning, Inazuma woke up from his slumber and got ready for the trip to Konoha. He backed all his things into storage seal scrolls and was ready to depart. He was ready to leave before a voice stopped him. You don't plan on leaving without me now, are you? Said the voice. Inazuma turned around and was slightly surprised to see Akane, mostly because she didn't wake up this early. Inazuma sighed. He knew she wanted to come with him mostly so she could see him again, but he also knew that she hated Konoha with a passion. I thought you hated Konoha and wouldn't want to go back there. True, but I'll make an exception. Akane pulled out a small backpack, signaling that she already packed her things for the trip. Inazuma shook his head and turned to the door and walked out with Akane following him. They walked in the village to order a boat ride ticket. When they reached the boat station, they noticed the same 4 kunoichi that asked for his help the other day. I guess they stayed for the night, he thought, and he started walking up to them. Hello there, ladies, greeted Inazuma. The 4 kunoichi heard the voice and turned around, shocked to see Inazuma and the lady from yesterday. Kushina, being the leader of the group, quickly recovered and replied to the greeting. Hello there, Inazuma-san. The man nodded in reply, and a saddened question popped into her head. What are you doing here? Inazuma, expecting this, replied, well, I decided to help Konoha with its problem. Is it a problem if I tag along with you? Seeing as though you are here, I assumed you stayed in the village's inn. No, it is perfectly fine. You can come with us if you want. Inazuma nodded, and the boat came, and they all boarded the boat heading to the coast of the Fire Country. The boat trip took 2 days. Yes, 2, it seems reasonable if you looked at the map. Well, to me it does. The trip was very quiet. No one barely talked to each other. Anko, Kushina, and Yugao were a little scared to talk to the two figures, mainly because they were giving off a feeling telling the group to not bother them. Kushina too was a little scared, but being the mother she was determined to find answers for her son. She was determined to find answers from him one way or another, and before they reached Konoha, when they got off, Kushina walked in front of Inazuma and the lady. The trip to Konoha will take about another 2 to 3 days, she said. Inazuma only nodded while the lady just glared at Kushina, which Kushina didn't notice because she was too focused on Inazuma. They traveled for about 10 hours. They made a campfire for the night. They had about a day and a half of travel left until they reached Konoha. It was pretty fast, seeing as though the group was made out of some of Konoha's best ninjas. After they finished dinner, the group of 4 kunoichi wanted to get to know Inazuma better, so they decided to talk to him and his partner. They were all sitting by the campfire and being silent. The silence was killing the 4 kunoichi until Kushina finally broke it by asking, "We didn't get to properly introduce ourselves last time, so let's start now. My name is Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze," said Kushina. Then Anko went to Anko Midarashi. Then Kurinai Yehi. Last was Yugao Yuzuki. "As you know, my name is Inazuma Erasure." The lady didn't say anything, only looked at the fire. "What is your name, lady?" The woman looked at her and replied, "Akane." "That is a pretty name," replied Kushina. Akane just ignored her. Anko, who could stand her attitude, acted up. "What wrong with you, woman? Can't you see that Kushina was being nice to you, and you just ignored her?" yelled Anko. Akane glared at Anko and was about to shout before a shoulder making her stop. "I apologize for Akane-san's behavior. It's just that Konoha isn't on good terms with her either," said Inazuma, making the tension die down. "And what is it?" asked Anko. She wanted an answer for Akane's behavior, even if it is personal, it doesn't matter to her. "Well, to make this short, Konoha hurt her mate." "Mate?" "Yes, mate." The 4 kunoichi understood what he said and just kept silent. I mean, they too would probably hate someone for life if they hurt someone they loved. Now that they got them to talk, even though it didn't turn out like how she wanted, she was going to ask him her question. Inazuma-san, can I ask you a question?" asked Kushina. Inazuma turned his attention to Kushina and nodded. "Go ahead," he said. "You said that you met Naruto 10 years ago?" "Yes, but that was a lie." Kushina felt heartbroken just when she thought she was getting some clue. It turned out to be a lie. "But I did meet him 5 years ago." Kushina's face brightened. She looked at Inazuma to continue. "And so he did. He bumps into me in a small village in Waves. I saw him and asked him why he was alone, and he told me that he was training to become the best shinobi alive. I told him that I will train him, and during our training he told me about his past. Eventually 2 years passed, and he mastered everything I could teach him. He told me that he would keep in contact. Last I heard, he was in Kirigakure stopping a civil war or something, but that was like 2 years ago." Kushina was happy that her son was doing something noble like stopping a civil war, but then realized that her son had gone through the horrors of war at such a young age, and probably already killed a few people. It hurt her that she missed her son's childhood. "Can I ask you something about Kushina-san?" asked Inazuma. Kushina broke out of her thoughts and looked at Inazuma. "Sure," she replied. "Why do you want to know so much about Naruto?" "That's because I'm his mother." Inazuma then became angry, as well as Akane. Akane was about to shout before Inazuma beat her to it. "Then where the hell were you?" shouted Inazuma. "You left Naruto alone and let him get abused by those damn villagers." His voice filled with anger. Kushina started to tear up. "I'm sorry, it's just that me and my husband were in a coma for 16 years. 16 years? You think I will believe that?" After the Kyuubi attack, Shinigami-sama told Minato that he will not take his soul since it was pure, but instead he will put me and him in a coma and return to us in 16 years. Kushina was now crying. Inazuma, hearing enough to remain quiet, he and Akane went to bed. The rest of the trip was fairly quiet. When they reached Konoha, they went to the tower to report their mission. Hokage office. Minato was doing paperwork. Well, to be more precise, his clones were doing paperwork while he was staring off at the mirror looking at the village. There was about a week left before the invasion. He already had a council meeting with the clan heads about the invasion and called back most of the ninjas to prepare for the invasion. Jiraiya came back with Tsunade yesterday. After explaining everything to her, she beat up Jiraiya for not telling her Naruto was alive. Tsunade was determined, like Kushina and Minato, to make it up to Naruto if they were ever to find him. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. "Come in," he said. The door opened to reveal Kushina and her team with 2 figures that he didn't know. "I assume you accomplished your mission?" asked Minato. They all nodded. "And I assume that this is Inazuma Erasure." Inazuma nodded. "And what might the other one be?" "She is with me. If you have any problems with that, then I will be leaving," said Inazuma. No, there's nothing wrong with that," replied Minato. "Is it okay if you took off your hood? I would like to see who the great Inazuma Erasure is." Inazuma nodded and took off his hood. They saw a man with long black messy hair. He was wearing shades, but it was light so you could still see his black eyes. He also had a beard and mustache that connected together making an upside-down triangle. Okay, I suck at describing, so it's Zangetsu from Bleach. Kushina, for some reason who knows why, thought it was Naruto, was a little sad, but she expected it since something like that would be impossible. Can I make a request to Hokage-sama? Asked Inazuma. Sure, what is it? Replied Minato. I request to be one of your bodyguards. The room was shocked. Are you absurd? Why would we trust some stranger with our Hokage? Yelled Anko. Minato put his hand up to make the room silent. Why do you want to be one of my personal bodyguards? Asked Minato. Because I told a friend of mine to come and help, and I think that it is easier for him to spot me if I am with him. Minato nodded. I understand, you will be one of my bodyguards then. Everyone in the room was shocked. Thank you, Hokage-sama. I will not fail you, replied Inazuma. Anyways, I will be looking for a place to stay until then, goodbye. Inazuma left the building with Akane following behind him. Streets of Konoha. Inazuma and Akane were walking down the streets. They could see the civilians all happy, playing, and talking. If you were to look at it, then yes, it would be a very happy village. They were walking, and found some leftover festival things on the ground. They noticed it was about the demon kid, and they frowned. Akane was getting madder by the second, while Inazuma, who was also getting mad, but not as mad as Akane. They eventually found a place to stay, and retire for the day. Back to Hokage office. Well, he seems pretty nice, joked Minato. Everyone just sighed. Jiraiya and Suwanda had just entered the room minutes after Inazuma left. I see you found Inazuma, said Jiraiya, whose face was deformed courtesy of Suwanda when she found Jiraiya peeking in the hot springs again. Yup, replied Minato with a grin. So how was he? Alright, he requested to be one of my bodyguards. What? Well, he said he sent a friend, and it'd be easier to find him if he was next to the Hokage. How can you easily trust him? Because Kushina told me that he was Naruto's sensei. Jiraiya and Suwanda was shocked. Why didn't you ask him for information on Naruto? Shouted Tsunade. Because he doesn't like Konoha for what they did to Naruto, and went out his way to be here, replied Minato. All we can do is hope that after we survive the invasion that we have time to look for Naruto. Until then, back to work. Everyone left, and went back to getting ready for the invasion. The week came by, and the Suna shinobi came about 2 days before the invasion. Their Kazakage also came with them. His name Gara of the Desert, also the Godame Kazakage. The Yandame Kazakage died from an incurable disease 3 years ago. Gara is also the Jinchuriki of the Ichibi no Shikaku, one-tailed raccoon. Before, he didn't have control over the demon, but rumors say that a traveler came passing by with sealing skills rivaling Jiraiya, and the Yandame Hokage fixed the seal, letting Gara have total control over the demon. Today is the day of the invasion, and Konoha is ready for it. Few miles away from Konoha stood the massive army of Iwagakure and Kumogakure. In front of the army were Tsuchikage and Reikage with their bodyguards. Inoki the Tsuchikage stood in front of his giant army with 2 of his bodyguards, his granddaughter Kuratsuchi, and the other named Akatsuchi. Inoki had a wide grin on his face. Hee, today Konoha falls, as will Yandame also, laughed Inoki. He was about to achieve his revenge for what the damn Yandame Hokage did to his men in the Third Shinobi War. Now he had a chance to crush the village the man ruled and protected, also killing the man. Inoki is probably the happiest man at the moment. Next to Iwagakure's army stood an equally massive, if not more massive, Kumogakure army. In front of the army stood the Reikage and his 2 bodyguards, one being his brother Killer Bee, also the Jinchuriki of the Hachibi no Kyogyu, 8-tailed giant ox. The other is Yujitoni the Jinchuriki of the Nibi no Bakaniko, 2-tailed cat. I was looking at the grinning Tsuchikage. Truthfully, he didn't really like the man. He had a feeling that Inoki always seemed to be scheming something behind his back. Why he was still in an alliance with them was the council's fault. Since Iwagakure was one of the 5 great hidden villages, the council demanded they have an alliance with them. Since Sunakagure was in an alliance with Konohagakure, Kirikagure was still in a civil war, or that's what the report said, so it made them the weakest of the 5 great hidden villages. So what's the plan? Asked A. Inoki stopped laughing and looked at a simple. We left about 1,000 shinobi back, and we attack the main gate. Then they will think that all our troops are at the main gate. After a while they will send most of their troops to the main gate to support the other shinobi. That's when our 1,000 men will attack the west gate, break through, and kill the shinobi from the inside, weakening them, he told A. He thought about it for a minute, and thought it was a good plan to say the least. Then something came up in his head. What about the east gate? He asked. Inoki smirked, but A didn't see it. Don't worry about the east gate, I got it all covered, Inoki told A. Raised an eyebrow. What does he mean by that? I know you're up to something, old man, thought A. Well then, shall we get the invasion started? Asked Inoki. A just nodded, and turned his head towards Konoha. Inoki turned to his army, and smiled. Charge, shouted Inoki. The IWA ninja started charging. Seconds later Kumo followed. Thus started the invasion. Konoha. In the distance the Konoha shinobi could see the massive army of the combined force of IWA and Kumo. The leader of the main gate was the third Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi in his battle suit. With him stood the Rookie 12, Sai replaced Naruto. The Rookie 12 were known to be here with some of the finest shinobi Konoha ever produced. Also, most of the shinobi stood at the main gate ready to protect it with their lives. In total they had about 3,000 men guarding the village. The Rookie 12 consist of Harino Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke, Sai, Hinata Hyuga, Kiba Inuzuka, Shino Aburame, Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akimichi, Tenten, Niji Hyuga, and last Rock Lee. In the west gate, Kakashi Hatake was the leader. With him stood Asuma Sarutobi, and his rival Guy, and about 1,000 shinobi. The east wing consists of the Kunoichi who went with Kushina on the mission to find Inazuma, with Yugao as the leader since she is an ANBU captain. Also Hana was there. They too had about 1,000 shinobi guarding the gate. Main gate. Everyone get ready, they're coming, yelled Hiruzen. When they saw the massive army of IWA and Kumo they were shocked to their core. There were at least about 3,000 to 5,000 men charging at them. They got out of shock and prepared for the attack. When the shinobi came into range, Hiruzen shouted out, "Now!" With that, a few hundred ninja did a couple of hand signs, took a deep breath, and shouted Katan, Gukaku no Jutsu, Grand Fireball, blowing out a line of giant fireballs at the enemy. Most of the combined forces of IWA and Kumo dodged the fireballs, but some were unfortunate and got caught killing them off. The many that survived continued to push on. IWA now, yelled Inoki. Some IWA shinobi did a few hand signs and grabbed the ground, shouting Doton, Asashika, Earth Shaker. They gripped their hold on the ground and lift a giant part of the land and chuck it at the Konoha Nin. The Konoha Nin had to break their line to dodge the many giant pieces of land, giving an opportunity for their enemy to charge at them and enter into the village. Hiruzen, seeing the army charging at him, shouted, "Stay firm, and don't let them pass." The other Nin recovered from the attack and prepared for the assault that was to come. Second later, the ninjas were engaging in a heated battle with both sides not giving up. You can see weapons flying everywhere and elements being shot out. Hiruzen just killed an IWA shinobi with his bow staff. The number of shinobi seemed endless and he was starting to get tired. Hiruzen jumped and dodged 3 Kumo, an IWA shinobi who were holding swords. He then swung his bow staff down at them. Hiruzen then dodged kunai heading towards him and went through a few hand signs. Katan, Karya Enden, Fire Dragon Flame Blast, shouted at Hiruzen, and took a deep breath, and blew out a giant lane of fire, killing about 20 IWA and Kumo Nin who got caught in the fire. After an hour of constant fighting, Inoki noticed that there were more Konoha shinobi coming to support the main gate. Inoki smirked, and ordered his ANBU member to tell shinobi that were on standby to start the attack on the west gate. West gate. Kakashi, Asuma, and Guy were getting tired of waiting. They had been waiting for more than an hour since the invasion started, and it seemed like all the fighting took place at the main gate. It seemed suspicious to them, but they sent almost half of the shinobi over to support the main gate. "When are they coming?" asked A. Just as he wished for, in the distance Kakashi noticed ninjas heading their way, and fast. "Get ready for them to come, and by the looks of it we are outnumbered," announced Kakashi, and all the ninjas got ready. "Why are they coming now when we are short on numbers?" asked Asuma, as he took out his trench knives. "I think it was part of their plan," replied Kakashi. "YOSH, youth shall prevail," yelled Guy, and all the ninja sweat dropped. Kakashi turned to Asuma and asked, "Want to make a bet?" "Sure," replied Asuma. "Person with the most kills has to owe the other person a whole night of drinking at the bar. You're on." And they shook hands. Guy, hearing the conversation, yelled, "I accept your challenge, my rival." Kakashi and Asuma's sweat dropped, but just shrugged it off. They turned back to the incoming ninja and got into a fighting stance. When the enemy got close enough to dash off to intercept them, Kakashi ran and threw some kunai, hoping to at least get one of the ninjas, but they dodged it like nothing. He quickly assumed that they were at least high or higher. A Kumo shinobi went through a few hand signs and said Raton, Kaminari, lighting circuit. Waves of lighting came from the shinobi's hand heading straight toward Kakashi and ninjas. Kakashi managed to barely dodge the attack, but about 5 shinobi weren't as lucky. Using the opening, some IWA and Kumo Nin rushed past Kakashi and some other shinobi who were still recovering. "Shit! Don't let them pass," yelled Kakashi, as he tried to recover as fast as he could, but was stopped by another lightning attack. Kakashi looked up to see 3 IWA Nin and nonchalantly at him. Quickly going through a few hand signs, Katan, Mystic Fire Flower, shooting out small fireballs at his opponents. The fireballs hit the Nin, but it didn't kill them, just wound them with severe burns. Asuma and Guy were surrounded. Asuma with his trench knives in his hand while Guy was in his taijutsu stance. Asuma had his trench knives covered with wind chakra and blocked a Kumo ANBU sword. Futon, Wind Blade, shouted Asuma, sending a wave of blades made out of wind at the ninjas, killing them off. Konoha Reppu, Leaf-spinning wind, shouted Guy, kicking 2 IWA shinobi, making them fly back, hitting other IWA/Kumo shinobi. Guy jumped into a group Suna and Konoha shinobi that were being surrounded, and kicked a Kumo shinobi that was about to attack a Konoha shinobi. The Suna and Konoha shinobi were trying their best to fight back the other shinobi, but they were clearly outnumbered in forces and skill, seeing as their opponent's skills were ranging from high to ANBU. Seeing as a lot of the invasion force passed them, Kakashi had to order a retreat so that they could help the main gate, or other gate, East Gate. Outside Konoha boundaries stood a man with pale skin, long black hair, yellow slit eyes, wearing a plain brown kimono with a purple sash/holder around his waist. Sorry, don't know how to explain his clothes. His name is Orochimaru, standing with his army consisting of Otogekyo shinobi. An Oto shinobi Shunshin in front of Orochimaru, bowing. Otokage-sama, we receive information that the invasion force has just attacked the West Gate, said the Oto Nin, still bowing. Kukuku, get our forces ready, we are attacking in 5 minutes, replied Orochimaru with a devilish smile. Today we will get revenge on that bastard Yondaime and his sensei Hiruzen for not choosing him to be the Yondaime. Minutes later, Otogekyo was ready to attack Konoha. Orochimaru gave the signal to his ninjas, and his right-hand man, a white-haired man wearing circle glasses named Kabuto, charged onwards to Konoha with the intent to make it fall. At the Konoha's east gate stood about 700 ninja, since they too had to send some ninja to support the main gate. An ANBU member wearing a bear mask Shunshin in front of Yugao. Yugao-san, we have spotted Otogekyo ninjas charging this way, said the bear masked ANBU. Thank you, Bear-san. Tell everyone to prepare for the attack. We will protect this village at all costs, replied Yugao. The ANBU bowed, and Shunshin to warn the other ninjas about an attack. So the snake theme is back, he smiled Anko with a sadistic smile on her face. The smile on her face made the ninja around her take a few steps back. About 10 minutes later, the Oto Nin were in view, and the combined forces of Konoha and Suna went pale. In front of them was a force consisting of about 2,000 winds. The worst part is that the army was made up of a bunch of missing ninjas, and some of Orochimaru experimented with ninjas. Don't be scared of their numbers, we will protect this place no matter what, yelled Yugao, trying to bring the morale up. After seeing the sheer number of ninjas they had to fight, many ninjas started to feel like giving up and running away. Yugao sent one to ask for support, and minutes later they came back with 1 to 200 to help them. That's when the Oto Nin threw a barrage of kunai at defending troops. The defending troops responded by throwing their, deflecting the kunai, and dodging the others that they did not get. Though some got wounded, overall they were untouched. They charged at the Oto Nin, who were only half a mile away. Kunais and could be seen from the battle. Yugao charged at 2 Oto Nin and used her sword to slice them. She then swung her katana to the side to block 2 charging at her, jumped to dodge an Oto Nin trying to slice her with his own sword, then slammed her sword on the Oto Nin while she was falling, killing him immediately. Then she threw 3 shrunken to her side, hitting 3 Oto Nin in the head who tried to attack her. You cannot defeat me with shinobis like these, stated Yugao, who just killed another Oto Nin with her katana. Then she went back to defeat as many Nin as she could to protect her village. Kurenai dodged 3 coming at her, and threw 2 of them at the attack Oto Nin. Seconds after she cast a, trapping people around her in a. The Nin who got trapped slumped down unconscious. She continued to defend herself against the shinobi. Anko went through a few hand signs of Katan, Ryoka no Jutsu, Dragon Fire Jutsu. She shouts, taking a deep breath, and blowing out a giant wave of fire, killing every Nin in her path. There was one man standing when the fire cleared. Anko narrowed her eyes, glaring at the person in front of her. It was her former sensei Orochimaru, S-rank missing Nin of Konoha. Kukuka Anko-chan, it seems you've gotten stronger, said Orochimaru with a sinister smile on his face. That's right, and I'm going to kill you, said Anko with her signature sinister smile. She shot her hand out, and shouted in Shokagen no, striking Shadow Snake. We'll see about that, replied Orochimaru. He jumped to dodge snakes that came charging at him courtesy of Anko, who shot the snake out of her trench coat. You have to do better than that, Anko-chan, said Orochimaru, making Anko growl. Anko did some fast hand signs, and shouted at Katan, Gakaku no Jutsu, blowing out a giant fireball at Orochimaru. The fireball hit Orochimaru dead on. When the smoke cleared, Anko cursed, shit mud clone. Quickly she looked for Orochimaru, only for Orochimaru to appear behind her from the ground. This is taking too long. Sorry, we could keep our reunion longer, but I have a Hokage to kill. With that, Orochimaru activated Anko's curse seal, making her scream in intense pain. She clutched her shoulder, which was showing the curse mark, while kneeling down in pain. 2 Oto Nin appeared in front of her, smirks on their faces. Maybe we can have some fun before we kill her, said one Oto Nin. Anko couldn't do anything, only hoping that someone would save her. Hokage Monument. At the Hokage Monument, on top of the Sandaime Hokage stood a figure. You could tell that the figure was a man since there wasn't anything visible at the chest area. He stood at a height of 6 feet 2 inches. You can't really see anything about him since he covered himself, wearing a gray trench coat with a hood, using the hood to cover his face. The trench coat also covered his body, so you also can't see much either. Never thought I would come back here, the man said to himself. He took a deep breath and sighed. Truthfully, he didn't want to be here. It's only because of his sensei that he is here. He looked at the fighting that was happening beneath him. From his point of view, he could see the battle that was happening, from the main gate to the east and west gate. Though he was more intrigued in the east gate battle more than the others. Might as well get this over with, sighed the man, and he jumped off the head and headed towards the battle, more exactly the east gate. East gate. Anko was about to get attacked by the two Otonin. Kurenai and Yugao saw their best friend in pain and was about to get attacked by the Otonin. They ran towards Anko, hoping to save her, but they were too far to reach her in time. Before the Otonin could attack, in an instant they were killed by two kunai flying at speed unheard of, hitting the Nin in the head, killing them instantly. Both Kurenai and Yugao saw a tall figure wearing a gray trench coat jump down and picked Anko up. He quickly dashed off, leaving the battlefield, and shocked Yugao and Kurenai. Hurry, we have to follow the person before he can do anything bad to Anko-chan, said Kurenai. Yugao nodded, truly that she should be staying and giving orders, but she had to save her friend. Quickly Yugao called for her boyfriend Hate and told him to keep command while she went to find Anko. Hate nodded and wished her luck. Both quickly dashed off to find and protect her friend. Yugao, being the sensor type, could trace Anko chakra, and it seemed like she stopped moving and was away from the battle. Then she sensed another chakra near her, and her eyes went wide. Anko-chan seemed to stop moving, though I sensed someone with her. Someone with a lot of chakra, though I can tell the person was holding back. Kurenai nodded at this, and was going to dash off until Yugao continued, though the person's chakra seems familiar. Kurenai was shocked, but quickly put it away. The only thing in her mind at the moment was saving her friend, who was not that far away from what Yugao told her. With Anko. Anko was now lying down on the ground. She was in an abandoned shop where she could hide in. Currently with her was the person that took her away, who at the moment was preparing for something. She didn't trust the guy, and wanted to fight back, but she was too weak to do anything at the moment. Truthfully speaking, while she was being carried off, she sort of felt his body, and slightly blushed. Sure, she was with Irika, but she just couldn't help herself when she felt his body. What the hell are you doing? Anko shouted loudly. The man simply ignored her, and continued what he was doing. Don't ignore me, I'm talking to you. He still ignored her. When he finished, Anko could see a paintbrush, ink, and a bottle. He then turned to Anko, though Anko still couldn't see his face, only his chin, which irritated her to no end. Let me see your curse mark, the man said, shocking Anko. What can he want with her curse mark? Receiving no answer, the man answered her question, as if he was reading her mind. I am going to remove the curse mark. Anko's eyes went wide with shock. Remove the curse mark? Not even Yondaime or Jiraiya can do that, and they're the best seal master around, she thought to herself, not believing what the man was telling her. Are you going to let me see it or not? The man said, getting irritated. Anko broke out of her thoughts and turned her attention back to the man. How can I trust you? She replied. It's up to you or not whether you trust me. If you do, then I'll remove the curse. If you don't, then I won't, and I'll continue on my way, answered the man, shocking Anko since she was not expecting to get an answer like that. In her head, she thought of a plan to get to know the man better so that she could decide to trust him or not. Who are you? She asked. I'm a simple traveler, he answered. Anko frowned at the answer, and was about to ask more until the said man interrupted her. I don't have all the time. Do you want me to remove the seal or not? Anko cursed that she still hasn't decided whether or not she trusts him. Then she remembered all the pain she had because of the mark, the nightmares, and the villagers' act towards her. She decided to trust him, giving him a nod. The man then asked Anko to show him the seal, which she did. When he saw it, he asked Anko to lower her trench coat so that he could perform the necessary to remove the soul. Anko did as she was told, hoping to get this over with soon. The man went over to his paintbrush and dipped it into the paint. Quickly he went over to Anko and drew seals around the curse mark. Anko tried her best to hold in her laughter since the brush touching her skin tickled. When he finished, she stopped feeling pain on her shoulder where the curse mark was. Thinking it was over, she turned around only for him to twist her shoulder. We aren't done yet, he told her. Anko turned around again, hoping it was over soon. Suddenly her eyes shot open, and she started to scream in agony. She turned her head around only for her eyes to widen in shock. What she saw horrified her. She saw the said man nails inside her skin, transferring his chakra into her. What shocked her though was red chakra coming from the man. Red chakra. The only person who has red chakra would be, she thought, until she was brought out of her thoughts by even greater pain. The man started pulling his hand out of her. As he pulled out his hand, there was a stream of red chakra following him, then the tainted purple chakra right after. Soon after, a small snake was formed from the tainted purple chakra. The chakra snake looked around and noticed that it was outside its host. When it saw Anko, it tried to jump at her only to be stabbed by a kunai and was stuck on the ground. In reality, the chakra would disperse and form somewhere else, but this kunai had seals written all over it, making it impossible for the chakra to disperse. The man watched as the snake slithered, trying to get free. He quickly went to the bottle and opened the cap. Asano, seal the tainted, he chanted, and suddenly the chakra snake got sucked into the bottle. The man put the cap on and wrote a few seals on the bottle to make it unbreakable. He then went through small hand seals and made a small fire, burning the bottle and killing the chakra with it. Anko, who was watching the whole thing, was speechless. She wasn't expecting anything like this would happen. When the chakra left, she left like a great burden was lifted. She turned to see the man stood up and was about to leave. "Wait," she called out. The man stopped where he was and turned to her. "Yes?" he replied. "Can I see your face at least?" The man took a deep sigh and took off his hood. At first Anko didn't know who it was, but when she saw something familiar she gasped and was about to say something. The man put his hand on his lips before she could say anything, signaling her to be quiet. She didn't listen to him, and before she could say anything he disappeared in a wave of wind. Seconds after, she, her friend Kurinai, and Yugao came into the shop worried for Anko. "Anko-chan, are you okay?" asked Kurinai worriedly. "I'm perfectly fine," replied Anko. "Did that person do anything to you?" asked Yugao, jumping into the conversation. "No, he didn't. Well, he did remove the cursed seal." Replying to Anko, both Kurinai and Yugao's eyes went wide. They didn't know that removing the seal was possible, since no has ever done it before. "No way, show us!" yelled both Kurinai and Yugao in disbelief. Anko did as she was told, and to all their shock, the cursed seal wasn't there. "I can't believe the seal is gone," stated Kurinai, while everyone nodded in agreement. "Do you know who did it?" she asked Anko, which Anko nodded. "I was Naruto-kun," said Anko, making Kurinai and Yugao's eyes go wide in shock when they hear this. Main gate. The battle at the main gate was going horribly. The east and west gates were overwhelmed, so they were surrounded from front and back. The Reikage and the Tsuchikage with their bodyguards both dashed off into the village when they saw an opening. Hiruzen couldn't stop them because he was too busy dealing with the other needs. Right now, though they were in a bad situation, they were surrounded and outnumbered at least 3 men to 1. "Damn it!" yelled Hiruzen as he saw another Konoha shinobi die. Hiruzen was dead tired and barely had little chakra left. He looked over to the other shinobis. The shinobi from the west gate came over to support the main gate. He could see Kakahi, Asuma, and guys starting to get tired themselves. "We need a miracle." As if his call was answered, mist started coming in, confusing everyone. "What the hell? Where did this mist come from?" yelled the shinobi. Then a cry of pain could be heard, and the sound of blood spattering could be heard, making every shinobi alert. Then more sound of spattering blood, making every shinobi on their toes. When the mist cleared, every shinobi had their eyes wide in shock. There on the ground was the dead corpse of Iwa and Kumo. Their bodies are dead with blood covering their bodies. "What the hell?" yelled the scared Iwa shinobi. They weren't fighting anymore, instead they were looking at the dead bodies, with scared, shocked looks on their faces. Hiruzen was examining the area, and then something caught his eyes. A group of shinobi ready to write. What shocked him though was their headband. On their headband was the sign of Kirigakure, the hidden village of the mist. "What is Kiri doing here?" asked Hiruzen loudly, making everyone turn to him. Then a Kiri Anbu appeared in front of him. "Sarutobi-san, we are instructed by our Mizukage to help you with the invasion," said the Anbu, shocking Hiruzen. Last time he heard about Kirigakure was that they were in a civil war because of the bloodline purge. He still thought that they were in the civil war. Did the civil war side win? "Is your Mizukage here?" asked Hiruzen. The Anbu only nodded, and seconds after the Mizukage appeared with an army of Kirinin. The Mizukage is a beauty. She had a body of a goddess and a bust that rivaled Swanda, with a slender body and an hourglass figure, having curves at the right place. She had a long auburn that reached to her ankles and covered her right eye, also some of it tied up at the top. She wore a blue dress that showed a bit of her cleavage, wearing a weapon pouch around her waist and high-heeled sandals. She also wears dark blue nail polish and blue lipsticks. Overall, she was drop-dead gorgeous, making men die of a nosebleed, while making women jealous. When the smoke cleared, the fighting started again, though it seemed more even now since Kiri joined to help. The Mizukage ran towards Hiruzen with her 2 bodyguards. "We have come to help, only because someone asked for it. This is not for a treaty. After this we will continue to remain neutral," said the Mizukage. Hiruzen only nodded. May then called for 2 Anbu, who appeared in front of her kneeling. "Hi, Mizukage-sama," said an Anbu with a shark mask. "I want you to find Uzumaki-san," said the Mizukage. The Anbu nodded, and disappeared in swirls of water. The Mizukage then turned to one of her 2 bodyguards, the one with an eye patch. "Ayo, I want you to find Naruto-kun. He owes me a date," said the Mizukage, with a smile, though behind her she was giving off this deadly aura that just screamed, "Find him fast or you die." "Hi Mai-sama," replied Ayo shakily. Then he put his hand into a seal and said, "Byakugan." Then veins started to appear around the eye patch. Hiruzen, who was there, his eyes went wide. "Byakugan, how is that possible?" Then he remembered what the Mizukage, now named Mei, said before. "Naruto? Naruto-kun here? Mai-sama, I found a man with a large chakra source heading towards a group of large chakra, I believe is where the Kages are," said Ayo, turning off his Byakugan. Mei nodded. "Good, then we will go to where the Kages are." "Ayo, Chojuro, let's go," said Mei. Then she dashed off with her bodyguards following right behind her. Hiruzen wanted to come along, but he had a village to defend, and won't leave his post until it was over. On top of Chunin Stadium, I used it because it's a bigger place to fight than the Hokage Tower. On top of the Chunin Stadium stood the Hokage, and the Kazekage with the bodyguards. Minato had Tsunade, Jiraiya, Kushina, Inazuma, and Akane, while Gaara had his siblings Temari and Kankuro. All of them were watching how the invasion was going. They wanted to go and help, but they somehow knew that the Kages would go after them, so they had to be separated from everyone else, so that they wouldn't kill unnecessary people while they fought. "You know, Kazekage-san, my son would have been about your age by now," said Minato, getting a small growl from Akane, and a raised eyebrow from Gaara, and was about to respond until the Reikage and Sechikage appeared at the end of the tower, opposite of where they were standing. "Today Konoha will fall, as well as Yandame," laughed Inoki, making Minato glare at him. Everyone got into their battle stance. Minato took out his special kunai, Kushina her katana, Swanda her fist, Jiraiya in his battle stance, Akane her katana, and Inazuma his katana. Gaara pulled the cap off his gourd, Temari took out her fan, and Kankuro took out his puppets with a chakra string attached to each of them. While Inoki started floating, Kuratsuchi and Akatsuchi got into their fighting stance. A's body started being enveloped in lightning, Yujito into her fighting stance, and Killer Bee took out his swords, getting into his sword style. Then they started charging at each other with the intent to kill, well, everyone except for Akane and Inazuma, but Minato, and they were too busy to notice. As they were charging, a man in a gray trench coat with his hood covered appeared in the middle of the battle. Everyone saw him, but they didn't stop. If he was going to get in the way, then he could die. Before any attack to reach him or each other, the man did a few hand seals at unreal speed. "Senpu, whirlwind outburst," he shouted, and wind started to swirl around his body, and seconds after it burst, sending shockwaves of wind around him, making both sides fly back to where they were before. Both sides were shocked by the power that attack had. All of them looked at the man still in the middle with his hood still on. "Who are you?" shouted Inoki, angry at losing his chance to kill Minato. The man didn't move an inch, not turning his head towards Inoki, which pissed Inoki even more. Instead he turned his head towards A and his bodyguards. "I didn't know you worked with Orochimaru, Agg," said the man, gaining a tick mark from A. No one calls him that, well, no one except one person, but he was still training from last he heard. "What do you?" said A until he was interrupted by a sound of broken tiles. He saw the middle area suddenly had smoke, shocking everyone including himself. When the smoke cleared, you can see Orochimaru, his hand extended with a snake covering it. As for the man, he was holding his throat, as if he had gotten bitten. The man then disappeared in a puff of smoke. "Kage Banshine?" chucked Orochimaru. He pulled out his sword, the Kusanagi, to block a kunai aiming for his head. The man landed a few yards away from Orochimaru. "You have to do better than the mysterious shinobi," said Orochimaru, and he dashed off to the man, his Kusanagi ready. Orochimaru thrusts the Kusanagi forward, but the man sidesteps to dodge it. The man took out a kunai and held it in a reverse grip, and tried to slice Orochimaru's head. Orochimaru somehow dodged it, and slithers his way behind the man where he found an opening. "Kakuken, now you shall die for being torn to my side. Goodbye, shinobi," said Orochimaru, and he swung his Kusanagi downwards, and sliced the man, getting gasps from everyone watching. Orochimaru smiled when he sliced the man, but instantly frowned when he felt no flesh. He looked at what he sliced. It was the man's gray trench coat. He looked up to see the man standing a few yards away from him without anything to cover his face. He, along with everyone else's eyes, went wide in shock. In front of them was a man that looked like a carbon copy of Minato. He had spiky hair like Minato, only shorter. He had a handsome face with ocean blue eyes, and an angular face, though it still had some baby fat on it. His body was very well toned. He didn't have big muscles, but his muscles were toned and made for speed. He wore black pants, with a weapon pouch strapped onto his left leg. On his upper body was a gray long-sleeved with pockets at its side. The long-sleeved wrapped around the man's body, showing his muscles and his developed six-pack abs, which Yujito and Temari and Kurasuchi all blushed to. But what the most revealing thing compared to Minato was the 3 whisker marks on each side of his face. "Man, that was my favorite coat," the man whined. Everyone's sweat dropped. "Are you done with your training?" asked an amused A. The man turned his attention to A. "Hell no, Agg. Naruto Uzumaki never trained," the now known Naruto said loudly, shocking the Konoha nin. The end. Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic. Link is in the description. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.